Good morning, everybody. It's a good morning, right? Time to rise and shine and do all your meditations and visualizations and all that jazz. I wanted to get on today. I've had a lot of people actually reach out to me and tell me that they appreciated the videos that I did and that it helped them with what they were going through. Obviously, I'm not a motivational speaker, nor have I ever done anything even remotely like this. And so I'm sure that I wander and I say things that probably I shouldn't say. But just give me a thumbs up, give me a heart if you're watching this and if you appreciate it. And I appreciate those that have watched it. So, you know, right now, have you ever gone through life and your day, your week, it's like the Friends theme song where your day, your week, your month, or even your year just hasn't gone your way, right? And it feels like the whole world is against you. And I'm not talking like bad things that are happening to you that you had a hand in making, you know, through bad decisions that you did, that now bad things are happening. I'm talking about just the universe feels like it freaking hates you, and that there's that other song, if it weren't for bad luck, I'd have no luck at all. That was kind of a running joke in my family with my husband and I. We felt that way for a really long time, that's what we attracted, was bad luck. So if something was going to go wrong, it would go wrong. I have, and I'll talk more on these things later on, but I have a son with cerebral palsy. I have a daughter with Down syndrome. She almost died in the hospital. At one point, she had 1% chance of living. We ended up having to have a medical bankruptcy. I've had somebody sue me over a seller carrying their home and that going wrong. You know, just all these things. We never had much money for years and years because of our kids, and having to ask somebody for money to get through the week, that's one of the hardest things that you've ever had to do. Good morning, Wendy. And who else was on here? Good morning, Stephanie. So you know, that's degrading and that's really hard. My father had prostate cancer and passed away, and I had some hard pregnancies with gestational diabetes and different things like that. So, you know, it just seemed like one thing after another was just hard. Didn't ever seem like life was easy. After I had my third child, so my first one had cerebral palsy, my second one had Down syndrome, my third one, while I was pregnant with him, I decided to get my tubes tied. People always ask me, how did you have triplets? What's the story? And so I thought I'd tell you on Facebook because it's pretty funny. So, so I had my tubes tied. Here I'd had health problems with my pregnancies, and the doctors were like, look, you got 2 kids with special needs. You have health problems. No one, you know, would think anything less of you. You probably should do this. And so I did it. I felt a little talked into it. And the moment I woke up from that surgery, I knew I'd made the wrong decision. I knew it. And for the next 5 years, it was something that weighed heavily on me. And I wasn't baby hungry. I didn't want a whole bunch of babies. I had 3. I was really happy. But it was like I'd made this wrong decision. And everywhere I turned, it was almost like I'd see a kid out of the corner of my eye. At the time, like I said, my father had prostate cancer, and I had this really strong dream, very powerful, one of the most strong, memorable dreams that I've ever had, where I had a baby. I didn't see that baby. That one was a girl, and they took her away. And then I had another one. So I had twins, and they laid the little boy on my stomach, and I just cried and cried and cried because in my dream, my father had already passed away, and he was never going to see these little babies. And I named that baby after my father. My dad's name was Paris. And I woke up and started researching, how was I supposed to have more kids? My husband would have been fine with one baby. Like, he did not want to multiply and repopulate the world. He would have been perfectly fine with one baby. Good morning, Terry. Good morning, Melanie. I was running through the cotton fields one morning, and I had been praying and fasting and really trying to figure out what it was that I should do. And I realized that the thought came into my mind. There's a scripture that says, trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not unto thine own understanding, and in all thy ways he shall direct your paths. And I took that back to my husband, and I had found a doctor in Tucson who could do in vitro 2.5 times for the same price as me getting my tubes reversed. And all I wanted to do was do this one time, because I felt like if God wanted me to have a baby, then I'd have one. And if he didn't, then great. I'd get on with my life. Like, I was okay without having a bunch of babies. We were in a really good spot for the first time in our life. Things were kind of going good. Good morning, Sylvia. Thank you, Wendy and Sheila. Good morning. So anyway, talked my husband into this. So we go to the doctor, okay? We go to Tucson. I don't know what this doctor was thinking, and he will swear that he doesn't do this, but this guy was crazy. So we made like seriously 20 some odd grade A fantastic quality eggs. Like, they were great. And this doctor put 5 in me. Like, I could have had 15 freaking kids, okay? I would have been worse than the Octomom. But maybe if I was the Octomom, I could have gotten a ton of work done and somebody would have paid for it, right? So 5 eggs are put in me. So anyway, the first time I go back, he says, you're pregnant with twins. And it wasn't even a shock to me, because like I said, I'd had this dream. I knew I was having twins. That was one of the strongest dreams that I'd ever had. So then he says, come back next week. So I go back next week, and he says, oh, you're pregnant with triplets. And it was like, oh my gosh. But he says, that one's really small, and he's probably not going to make it. Your body will just absorb it. Come back the next week. Well, how sad is that? I mean, you leave, and all week long you're sitting there not knowing if you're going to have 3 babies or 2 babies or what's going to happen. So we go back the next week. Now my husband has to stay out in the car because my daughter is sick. She's not feeling well. He doesn't want to take her into the hospital. So he says to me, if you go in there and there's 4, I'm divorcing your ass. And he's dead serious. He's like, I am not going to be the baby daddy to all these kids. So I go in there, and they say, okay, there's still 3. So let's go ahead and prep you and get rid of one. Just like that. Like, it was no big deal. You have to realize that when you have multiples, you have a higher risk of losing some of the babies. And so that was their thinking. But for me, it was like, you should have known that for the beginning, and you shouldn't have put all those babies in there. So left, never went back to him. So thank you, Terry. So around 12 and 13 weeks, I started bleeding. And at 15 weeks, my body was getting ready to lose the babies. And I was admitted to the hospital where they had to sew up my cervix. Now, let me tell you about that. When you get your cervix sewn shut, what they do is they place you on this table, okay? You're on this table. And then they put your head down like this. So your legs are up here, okay? Okay? And I'm 15 weeks pregnant with triplets. So that's like a normal 25, 27 weeks with anybody else. I haven't seen my hoo-ha for a while. I don't even know what this looks like. And now I've got literally 5 doctors and nurses all staring down there working on this area. Talk about a hello, how are you this good morning? So anyway, they sewed my cervix shut. And for the next, 10 weeks, we weren't sure if we were going to keep the babies or not. And that was really, really, really hard. But I had an epiphany before that surgery. And that was that I looked back on my life and everything, including the Down syndrome, including the bankruptcies, including a son with cerebral palsy, including almost losing my daughter in the hospital with 1% chance of living, including all the fights I had to do at school, and everything that had ever happened to me had been for my good. It had taught me to be stronger. It had given me more sympathy. It had all been for my good. And I realized right then and there that if I kept the babies or if I lost the babies, it could still be for my good. It depended on how I looked at it. And that God knew what was best for me. So fast forward, we have these kids, and oh my gosh, triplets is hard. And after you have a really hard pregnancy, lots of times people end up with postpartum depression. I'd never had that before, and it presented itself in anxiety. I had extreme anxiety and extreme anxiety attacks, and just acted kind of crazy, kind of nuts. And I had this friend, and if she watches this, she'll know who she is, and she needs to know I adore her. But at the time, she drove me freaking nuts, okay? This was a girl that I didn't really know. So when I say I had this friend, she was trying to be my friend. She was trying to help. And she would come over to the house. Well, you know, I'm somebody who feels like I have to entertain, or I have to always try to be perfect and all this crap. I don't anymore, but back then I really felt that way. I was always putting on more than what I was, or trying to show people that it didn't matter that I had these kids with special needs. It didn't matter that I had triplets. My house could be clean. Everything was fine. Everything's perfect. So imagine, obviously I have anxiety. Look at all that. So she would come over, and I felt like I couldn't be at ease, and sometimes she'd bring her son, and he was kind of a wild kid, and he'd end up drawing on the wall, and it was just like, good gosh, you know, I just, this isn't working out. So one day, my husband comes home from work. So when he comes home from work, you have to realize that I probably did not sleep all night long. I was awake with these triplets all night long. So I'm exhausted. It's now 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I haven't showered. I stink. I have breast milk all over me. It's awful. And I'm trying to get in the shower. So I take off my shirt, bra. So I'm topless. And I'm going to get in the shower. And my husband says something to me, and it pisses me off. Just like that. Just snap. Like a rubber band snaps. I freaking lose it. And I'm just like, that's it. I am done. Okay? And now realize at this time, our home is for sale. So you think selling your house is hard? Imagine selling a house when you have little triplets and you're trying to keep this place clean. Plus you have anxiety disorder and you're out of your freaking mind. So I take my shirt off, and in my mind, this is no joke, I'm going to get my keys and I'm done. And I'm going to drive to the river, and I'm going to drive off the freaking bridge. I've had it. I don't want to do this anymore. Mothering is hard. Motherhood is hard. I haven't slept. I feel like a horrible mom. My life is, most of the time, you know, my house is filthy. I've got kids in all different circumstances, and I'm trying to get them everywhere. And at the same time, you're trying to appear perfect. And it's just impossible. And I didn't want to do it anymore. So, remember, I have no shirt on. So I go down the stairs, and my husband's like chasing after me, wanting to talk to me, and I'm done. And I open the front door, and out in front of my house, about 20 feet away, is a car that's parked, that stopped to look at my house because it's for sale. And now they got a woman who's topless, standing at the front door, looking out at them. I don't think that they came and bought my house. So Anyway, I sat down, I closed the door, I sat down on the steps and just cried. My husband brought me a shirt. And at that moment, maybe 30 minutes later, my friend shows up. And that friend that was driving me nuts. And she came in and she sat with me. And she had had depression and anxiety problems her whole life. And she was the only one that was able to understand where I was coming from. And she gave me the phone and she said, call the doctor. You need to get on some medicine and you need to get help. So even in the times where I thought that the universe was conspiring against me with this friend that was driving me crazy, the universe actually knew what I needed. God knew what I needed, whatever you want to call it, and sent me an angel who helped save my life. So I just want to say that you can look back and you can take all these hardships that you've had and you can let them make you miserable, and you can live in that misery. And there's things that happen that no, you'd never want to repeat again, and you'd never wish on anybody, and they're horrible, awful things. But then what are you going to do with them? How are you going to make this great? How are you going to learn from it? How are you going to be able to look back and smile at even the really, really hard things? I just know that you are stronger than you think you are, and you can do impossibly hard things, harder than you ever imagined. And people will say, how did you do that? And you don't even know, but you can do it. And you just need to choose to use all of those experiences to help others and to inspire. That's my spill. I look at these experiences that I've had now, and I hope that I can inspire some of you. And I hope that I can help you through your day, through those impossible days of motherhood, through the sicknesses of some of those kids, through hardships of financial difficulties. I hope that I can inspire. I hope I'm not driving you crazy. And I hope that you can take this and you can do the same. Take it, run with it, and go and inspire somebody else. Have an awesome day.